going to be George Stenitzer. And I met George down in Atlanta. He was, come on up. I met George in Atlanta. He was giving a talk down there about how to be noticed with your communications, how to cut through the clutter. And for me, being in experience management, experience design, it's so important that we get our communications and our experiences down together. Otherwise, you have these weird expectations that just don't work all the time. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, George Stenitzer is going to talk to you how to hook your audience in 7 seconds. You have 7 seconds.
Thank you. So the big hook is coming out here in 7 seconds to take me away. Thanks for joining me today. Happy Monday. I'm going to build on what Diana had to say and focus on how can you capture your audience's attention in the first 7 seconds. Whenever you have to present a story, whether it's live in an event like this, or digital, online, social, or in print, there's a lot that you can learn by focusing on a single message. So that idea of a single message is where we want to be. And I'm going to share with you a tool that you can use that'll help you focus your message. So it'll put all your message on one page, one main message supported by 3 points. And the idea is to see what to say, so you say what you mean. And you keep your message clear, concise, and consistent. All these things are going on. You may have seen this chart of everything that happens on the internet every minute of the day. And we're competing with 18 million messages. We're competing with 4.5 million YouTube videos and 4 million people going to Google. At any moment, this is one touch away. And so there's so much temptation to go away from your message and to another message because it's all available out there. We also know that most people are multi-screening either all the time or frequently. So, we sit in front of a TV, but with our phone, with our tablet, we're getting really bad at paying attention to one screen at a time, which adds to the challenge that we face. You may have heard of this study, and this is the question of who has a longer attention span, a human or a goldfish? Any speculation? Goldfish, yeah. So in this study, what they saw is that humans' initial attention span is about 8.25 seconds, and goldfish have an attention span of 9 seconds. But here's the thing. Goldfish don't have phones. They don't have broadband access yet. I think with 5G, actually, we will get devices that will measure water temperature, chemistry, how much food there is for our fish, so that we can feed our fish remotely. That's part of what's coming with the Internet of Things and with 5G cellular. But in the meantime, we know that most of the time our visual field gets refreshed about every 3 seconds. So we look at something different, and that's why eye tracking is so important. We want to know what is it that's compelling the interest. So 30,000 times a day, even when we dream, we're picking up visuals, different visuals. How do we become one of the things that's implanted in somebody's memory rather than something that's dismissed overnight? And so this takes us to the mysteries of the human brain. And I'm not a brain expert, but I read a lot of brain experts and I listen to a lot of brain experts. Our brain is only a couple pounds, about 2% of our body weight, but it consumes 20% or more of our energy and of our oxygen. So it's a very hard working machine. This is why chess players lose weight when they're playing chess, because their brain is working so fast. They have so much attention, it's consumed by that chess match. So how do we work with this challenge of a lazy brain? Our brain wants to be on autopilot. It wants to idle. It does not want to go full on, full force like a chess master. And Wilbur Schramm, who was a professor at University of Illinois, talked about here's how you can get the brain to go for something. What we have to consider are 2 things, the expectation of reward and the effort required. What is it that we can do to increase the expectation of reward and reduce the effort that's required by anyone? That is what will get them to repeat the behavior. And so for messaging, this is about getting to the gist. Hooking your audience in the first 7 seconds while they're still really paying good initial attention to you. And the technique that I'm sharing with you is something that we created back in the 90s. The reason we created it was to speak with journalists. So I'm a former newspaper reporter, marketer, and communications executive. I was a VP and worked for 30 years in corporate America before starting my own business. And I was trying to figure out how could I get my CEO to deliver a message that would get quoted accurately in the newspaper, on TV, on radio, on the wire service, and deliver the message that we wanted to deliver. And so I had both the challenge of managing the CEO. I worked for 8 different CEOs. Everyone's personality is different. Everyone delivers things differently. How could I keep them on message? Because the phone call I never wanted to make was that call to a reporter where you say, what my CEO meant to say was, it's a very painful call. So get the CEO or your spokesperson on message, keep them on message for the length of a journalist's attention span, which is even shorter than a normal human's. Journalists have a hard time figuring out what's the essence of a story unless you make it easy for them by repeating it consistently. So the tool I'm sharing with you is called a message map, and what it'll help you do is 3 things. See what to say what you mean, and keep it clear, concise, and consistent. Those are the keys to successful message delivery, no matter what you're delivering in, whether it's marketing, whether it's public relations, whether it's a public talk. This is the key to getting your point across. We want to focus on one place that we're going to call home base. And home is a safe place. This is a place to which you can always return. You can feel comfortable repeating this point. Think of home base as your home. This is the place, the one thing that you want to get across to your audience. And the reason that home base works is because it tells the audience, what's in it for me? That's the only question that I ever have as a human who's receiving a communication. All I want to know is, what's that reward? How easy is it going to be for me to get it? Answer the question, WIIFM. What's in it for me? It sounds like a radio station, so always keep that in mind with your communications. And as Diana said earlier, the more messages you try to get across, the less successful you'll be. So if you have one main message, your home base, that's the whole key. Don't be tempted by 2 messages or 3 messages. There are consultants and public relations people and advertisers who will tell you you have to have multiple messages. Oh, no, you don't. You want to have one. That's the way to get your point across. Or as Seth Godin says, if you try to say 3 things, we will hear nothing. Because most of the time, we're hardly listening. So it's so hard to break through. Let's make it easier by having one main message. But one main message by itself isn't enough. What you have to have is a few reasons to believe, ideally 3. And I'm going to call these positive points. So I have one main message, my home base, 3 reasons to believe, my positive points. That is the ideal size packet for the human brain. Because it tells us what's the main message, but it also gives us a pattern to recognize. 3 reasons why we can believe this. And so here's the anatomy of a message map. The home base is in the center. It answers the question, what's in it for me? And the positive points give me reasons to believe. And 3 is a magic number for humans. We have 3 blind mice. We have 3 wise men. A story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. We like patterns of 3. Now, the neuroscientists I've talked to say at the most, you can have 4 positive points, but no more than that, because then it turns to clutter. It's no longer about pattern recognition. 3 is sufficient for pattern recognition. 4 is a lot, but not too much. 5 is way too much. Don't go there. And that gives us a 7-second message. So here's an example from the Virgin Chicago Hotel, which delivers a great guest experience because it's convenient, it's got comfortable rooms that are ready for business, and it's Virgin, it's fun. That's about 6 seconds of message that convey the whole Virgin Chicago Hotel message. And in 7 seconds, 23 words, we get a lot of content that we can work with. This can become a headline, an email subject line, a social post, a soundbite, an elevator pitch. So you have your elevator pitch always ready. And this is a brilliant thing for you to do for your own company, is make sure that you have a 7-second message that's ready when you meet someone new, that they understand what's in it for them and why they should believe that, because you've done the work to put this together. But 7 seconds alone isn't enough. We need to scale the message up to fit the allotted time or the needs of the medium. So to build a 2-minute message, what we're going to do is add to the message map proof points for each positive point. And keep in that same pattern of 3 proof points will help us demonstrate the truth of the positive point. So here's the Virgin Chicago Hotel message in 2 minutes. The Virgin Chicago Hotel delivers a great guest experience. It's convenient in the loop, close to everything. To announce free Wi-Fi, they gave free Wi-Fi away to their competitors' guests. And that's why the hotel industry now mostly offers free Wi-Fi to frequent travelers. Richard Branson got that changed. The snacks in your room are at street prices, so it's not $5 for a bag of M&Ms. They're comfortable rooms that are ready for business. They have specially designed extra comfy beds. If you and your partner are in the room and your partner needs to take a conference call, there's doors you can close between the bedroom and the dressing area so you can snooze while your partner is on that call. And if you need anything on your phone, there's not 10 buttons. There's one that says yes. Any type of service, you press the yes button. Or let's say that you're working late, as Mark was last night, and you need a printout. What you do is you email to yes@virgin.com, and 5 minutes later, someone knocks on your door and hands you your printout. And finally, it's Virgin, it's fun. So it has that design, feel, and flair throughout. There are 2 rooftop bars with a great view of Chicago, and it's ranked #1 by the readers of Condé Nast Traveler. So that's the Virgin Chicago Hotel message in 2 minutes. And they detail for you how they deliver a great guest experience. Why does that message work? Because Richard Branson is all about disrupting markets. And so what he looked for were what were the things we could say that no one else could say. At the time he opened the hotel, the way he opened the topic of free Wi-Fi was he got a van that broadcast Wi-Fi. He went to the Ritz. They rolled out a mat in front of the Ritz door that said, if you were staying at the Virgin, you'd get free Wi-Fi. Enjoy a free day of Wi-Fi on us. And gave the code. And then they went to the W the next day. So they drove around to all their competitors, gave free Wi-Fi to their competitors' guests to announce that they were doing free Wi-Fi. Now that's been copied a lot. I got free Wi-Fi last night at a Marriott. But other things have not been copied. Snacks in your room at street prices, the specially designed beds, the door that gives you 2 rooms for the price of 1, the yes button, and the ranking of the #1 hotel in the US, which is not only differentiating, it's also social proof. So other people who've stayed there say that all of this is true. And that differentiation in your message is the key to make your message stick. And you'll see it's not happening in the first 7 seconds. In the first 7 seconds, we're just answering what's in it for me. We're giving you reasons to believe, but the real differentiation, I want to go on for at least 2 minutes. In 2 minutes or 400 words, I get a web page, a news release, a blog, a video, and an infographic. So all of those types of media can be produced out of a single 2-minute message. Let's say that I have a complex message or I'm in a technical field. I'll want to expand the overall message to 20 minutes. And here's how I do it. I'm going to add 3 examples to each proof point. An example could be a quote, it could be a chart, it could be a photo, it could be a data point, it could be citing some expert in this area. So with 20 minutes, I have about 4,000 words. That could be a speech, a white paper, an ebook, a report, or an article, or a long presentation. Longer than this one will be today. The other thing that I can do with a message map is make sure that my presentation is addressable. Because often, especially in B2B, I'm selling to a committee. And there are different kinds of people on the committee. There's a technical expert, an economic expert. There might be an environmental expert who's on that committee. They each care about different things. So how do I assure that the relevant part of the message is delivered to each audience? This is a message map from my former employer, Tellabs, that was about optical local area networks. So it's the wires in your building that deliver you the internet, but done with fiber optics instead of copper. And for the buyers in the IT department, this was the part of the message that was relevant to them about why the technology was good, what benefits it would deliver for the business. But for the guy in purchasing or the chief financial officer, what's relevant is different. I just want to know how I'm going to save money exactly. And for the green buyer who's trying to get LEED certification for a building, these are the parts of the message that are relevant. And so our sales force literally walked around with these message maps, figured out which role did you play on the purchase, and then deliver the relevant parts of the message to you. And not waste your time by sharing technical details with an economic buyer. The idea is to get everybody in a company to sing the same song. That doesn't mean exactly the same note. We can get a beautiful harmony from everybody and the way that they're going to tell the story uniquely. A message map is not about parroting and saying exactly what's on the map. It gives you the freedom to start with an idea and then express it in your own way. And that's one of the things that makes it more authentic and more human. We know that when you deliver the message consistently, you gain credibility. And you gain the opportunity to implant the message in the place cells of the brain. So the place cells are the place where we store things that don't change. So if you're at work today and you have to drive home tonight, you don't need to think like Google Maps, step by step, I have to make a left turn here, a right turn there. You know your way home because that's in your place cells. And ideally, as a marketer or communicator, what we're trying to do is implant messages that stick, because it's only the messages that get remembered that can lead to a decision later on. And in order to get those messages to stick, we absolutely need consistency and the credibility, because people always hear the same thing from our brand consistently, whether it's digital, whether it's live, whether it's in print. It doesn't matter the medium. It doesn't matter who the messenger is. Everyone is singing the same song. And that consistency is how we break through. So to sum up, what I'm sharing with you today is how to hook your audience in 7 seconds with a message map so you see what to say what you mean, and keep everything in your message clear, concise, and consistent. I have a free message assessment. So if you'd like to try out your own company's message and test it, it'll take you about 8 minutes to answer a few questions and get a handle on how is your message working today so that you can take the steps to make it as potent and effective as it can be. And that is my 7-second pitch. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, George.